Welcome back, YouTubers, to my channel of an everyday encounter in ordinary life of an Aspie. As you're fully aware, on my other channel is basically the Beauty from Ashes, in which I'm introducing you all at the moment still the series of the addiction. Pretty much, as you know, what I've covered so far is basically the alcohol, the video gaming of AS addiction. This is just the effects of the substances, the type of and form of basically the addiction that creates it, the signs and symptoms in long term, short term, and the effects of it, be it psychological, physical, mental, and all that, as well as basically just the types, how it gets categorized into different areas and how it affects people and others. And also I did later on in the piece, which was supposed to be the ending of it later, is the tips and advice hopefully to approach someone that basically has a form of addiction of any kind, how you go about it. You know, as I said, you gotta just treat with caution with these people that are addicted, because you never know, you know, they could sway in a different direction. It's just a matter of handling with care and just having a heads up about how to go about it. Also, another part of the piece was also that I was talking about basically, despite it all, I talked about some cycles, like basically the, you know, the cycles are meaning as well, like to why they do it, and then the relapse stages of it, on the effects of it. Pretty much, as I said before, also though, however, I mentioned that I was going to hopefully have some diagrams to illustrate in some parts of my video series of these addictions, which for some reason I'm having still difficulties to this day, which I'm still learning how to go about it with this Vegas, even though I'm getting better. But it's just some bits that I might need to ask the YouTube community maybe for help, how to go about it. I don't know, I'll just have to see maybe later on in the piece, maybe to, you know, leave a comment on that channel of the YouTube promote that I've been following and actually supporting some people up on there. Big thumbs up for you guys having the courage to bring out your channels of whatever you want to bring in this day and age. Hopefully you guys will succeed into what you want to achieve, so to speak, and hopefully whatever your aims were, be it gaining more subscribers, gaining more awareness and understanding of some topics that you feel close to your heart to share with others, or whatever the case may be. You know, it takes a lot of guts and courage. Before I run out of time, however, I'm hoping to bring out the addiction series of marijuana versus basically stimulants. Hopefully, I said also I was hoping to maybe talk about a bit of a porn addiction. I'm not so sure still. And then the last bit is hopefully the myths about addictions, what you hear about it, and, you know, my opinion on these myths. So, in all further ado, this is marijuana. So hopefully you've enjoyed my channel. So here we go. Amotivational syndrome is defined as a psychological kind of condition that is associated with inspiration, kind of diminished kind of things that goes on around us, be it like we do tend to like hallucinate, and, you know, as we do with these side effects of everything, you know, to participate in social situations and activities with episodes of apathy caused by an external event, situation, substance, lack of, or other causes. Apathy decreases the effectiveness, loss of ambitions, sense of goals and visions, difficulty in attending and concentrating on what needs to be done of this emotional syndrome that can affect us in one way or another. To know, remember how I said how certain addicts, however, when they need to have the need of going on a high sort of thing to feed their habit, and then they'll go down to a slippery slope of the withdrawal stage and then come back again to that relapse. Well, also another way of looking at it also as a remembrance for you guys here is basically, if they crave for that particular addiction or habit that they may have, be it alcohol, be it nicotine, be it whatever it may be, you know, this is one type of them, and they'll use it as a form of like as an escape kind of cycle where they have to escape from their reality of whatever going on in their lives, be it whatever it may be it, like I said, having a breakdown in their relationship with their partner, be it like they're having problems maybe with their family members, you know, not getting on with their family, they get argumentative due to the addiction that they're feeding, and that the stresses around them, being around their family, or just the stresses of maybe that they've lost their work sort of thing, or made redundant, however, and they just feel the need, they have to feed this craving of the addiction sort of thing. As I mentioned before, that I did mention those two cycles, the escape cycle and the buzz cycle sort of thing. You gotta remember they are both different, but they may have the similar consequences and similar signs and symptoms, so we'd better make sure, as I said, as I'm creating this awareness and understanding, we know the differentiation between them both, so that hopefully we can be in control of ourselves, basically, to help those people out there. Okay, these effects, however, as I'm going to talk about the physical, which is first and foremost, which this includes is the increased heart rate, pretty much increased blood pressure, decreased motor activity, basically, that they just feel like they're lazing around, they can't be bothered doing anything, and they just feel that they just want to do things. Sometimes it can be, sometimes boredom, sometimes two, that might be creating them to just basically feed their habit as well, you never know. Sometimes on this habit though, basically, of the marijuana, they can become more talkative and they're not aware of their surroundings. As I said, that they're on a high, basically they're so talkative, they'll just talk till the cows come home, and basically then they obviously will bore us to death with this kind of effect. Then they get bloodshot eyes, obviously, with these signs and symptoms, and then basically they start to tremble, and basically, you know, they might collapse a few times, they might black out, some of them, it's the point where of no return. They might, if they feed enough of that habit, becomes a reality that they'll end up in hospital. In the psychological stage of the effects of the marijuana, there's altered perception and activity. What I'm meaning there is of the altered perception and activity is that, again, when they're on a high, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know where they are. They're basically buzzing out to a point where they just want to numb their pain, or just numb out whatever that's going on, you know, feeding that habit to the point that they just want to buzz out sort of thing and forget everything around them. Another one is impaired memory, judgment and concentration. And then again, amotivational syndrome, as I mentioned, of what it means. Now, in the emotional effects of marijuana, pretty much basically they say that it makes them happy, it makes them relax, it relieves the anxiety to a point, however, but then, you know, anxiety will come and go. You know, it will lower their moods, be it if they were angry, they'll be in that come of effect because of what's inside that marijuana, that basically, you know, is there just to calm them down to a point where there's no return. Hallucinations and paranoia. I've noticed that, like, with some people that have, you know, been in the past or present, basically, that I've lost a few friends along the way due to maybe all this choices that they made, but that's the choices what they made. But I've noticed that when I've been helping with some people that is affected by drugs, alcohol, or whatever kind of, you know, substance abuse or activity abuse of basically on the addiction scale, that, you know, some of them will actually turn their back and think that you're turning against them, as due to that paranoia stage of theirs. You know, they thought you were their friend, they can trust you, they can rely on you, they lied to you about where the money is going, or they just lie to you in general. They start, the stealing begins and stuff, and all that due to their habit. They need to find a fix in a crave so fast that they have to lie to you to a point that you just begin to question, you know, where you're at with them. And then sometimes your friendship with them just becomes so small and diminishes and whatnot. How I look at it is, you know, what I'm learning right now, you can only help to a certain extent because they need to be the ones in control, and obviously be the ones that obviously make that choice that they need their help and reach out to us or just someone outside our circle, be it a psychologist, be it counsellor, whatever the case may be at that point. In the long term, however, the effects on that one is the altered heart rate. Sometimes, you know, our heart is important to pump the blood and nutrients around the body. Basically, when that's altered, basically it will just slow down, or to a point it creates, you know, heart attacks or just some form of heart problems. Also, in the terms of effect of marijuana, basically the lungs are altered as well as the reproductive functioning. what I'm meaning there about the altered lungs is basically, you know, lungs probably either A, shrink, or it won't be there much, and we get shortness of breath, dizziness, as I said, and all those other symptoms that's associated with our breathing pretty much will be lacking of. And then in this reproductive functioning, obviously, especially in males, basically in the sexual productive part, you know, their sperms decreases, as well as us females, we won't be releasing much eggs as you do, you know, in the time of the month when you really need it, sort of thing. So that ends basically this part of marijuana series. Please give me a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, follow me on my channel, share the videos that you feel on your heart to share on some of these video series, or just any videos in general that you feel that once you have come onto this page, sort of thing. On the next one, I'm hoping to bring out the stimulants, basically, again, the effects and whatnot, and hopefully real later on in the piece it will be my tips and advice for you all, or some sort of message of encouragement that I've written out for you about breaking free from addiction. Pretty much there's hope out there. It's just a matter of, as I said again, by our choices. So thanks for watching, have a nice day, and I'll see you soon.